Vladimir Kochetkov, Positive Technologies, the head of Development and Analyzer Code Investigation. We were visited by Alexey Morozov, AppSec BP Tinkov, and Yegor Bogomolov, Security Analysis and Single Tool Security founder and managing director in CyberX. Usually we start all conversations with certain definitions, topics, and we are going to start immediately. Can you tell me, please, how do you identify yourself? When somebody from the IT industry asks you, what are you doing at work? What do you answer? It's a good question. Until recently, I was always saying, I'm the security specialist, because hacking or the hacker, which I was doing last 6 years, brings a lot of questions. Well, right, my people around me, they already understand, and they understand what I'm doing. So I call it ethical hacker or things like that, and you can use those names, and it's not going to cause a lot of questions. A statement that you are doing ethical hacking. Like people ask you, like, oh, can you break VKontakte? Well, you call it ethical hacker or the security analysis specialist. Alexei, I always answer simply, hacker, to stop other hackers. And everybody understands it. They have a lot of questions. Oh, you're a hacker, what can you do? Can you break VKontakte, etc., etc.? Always happens like that. And I'm saying, okay, I'm not breaking hacker, I'm a good hacker. And then you start explaining what kind of hacker, good hacker, bad hacker, difference between them. And in the course of discussion, you tell about your work. What is the most important myth around the information security profession? Not just AppSec, security protection, but around security in general. Around information security, it's very hard to say because it's a very closed section. But speaking about outside, nobody goes outside. You know, speaking about hackers, yes, of course, there are certain myths on the side of the public activity, which is not the topic of it. And all these myths are related to this magical origin, this profession, because people don't understand how the processes are built and everything which is happening in this sphere, but in the sphere of hacking, it's more related to unclear, not understandable. But even if person understands something, the developer or something else, but there are myths about the speed of actions, some miraculous things that in 1 minute you can break into something like that. Globally, I think there are no myths about information security. This is a popular things like hacking, things like that. See, there's a lot of myths. If you look at public myths, when you say the word hacker, it's always some negative connotation, something bad, something evil. That's myth number one. Myth number two is about the area of our work, that security people are people which do nothing and just make our life worse on behalf of the developers. That's the working part of it. And number three, if you call yourself a hacker, it means like you can do anything and anybody can approach you, you know, can you lift up a server, can you crack the Photoshop, or can you reinstall the Windows? So hacker is considered to be some omnipotent person. But you know, this world is multifaceted. It's divided into facets and subfacets. So these are three myths which you can remember immediately. Both of you have mentioned the topic break into VKontakte, and you hear that somebody works with vulnerabilities or hacking the first. Can you break into VKontakte or the bank or Facebook? Depending on the context. How do you reply to questions like that? I always say that if they directly speak about VKontakte, for the regular audience people from outside of cybersecurity, I answer, of course, we can find vulnerabilities, but I immediately make a correction. You don't understand how it's going to look. Very often, if the person say, can the account in VKontakte can be broken in, I will immediately correct him. In order to break this account of VKontakte, you should break the whole VKontakte, or you should break a certain person, which is simple, and there's nothing super incredible in it, because very often it's done through social engineering, like lying, speaking about people. But when you speak about the whole ВКонтакте, you want to correct person. Why? Why you immediately start speaking about ВКонтакте? There's no money out there. But this is a reflection of the current situation of the informational security problem. Because we afraid of leaks, but leaks are happening and nobody cares about them. And inadmissible events are happening somewhere else. So I'm trying to think wider. I'm trying to educate people. Do you? Well, it's much simpler for me. In ВКонтакте, everybody wants to read personal communications between people. When somebody asks me, can you break into ВКонтакте? Well, in my bug bounty, I already have ВКонтакте. I already did it. These are jokes, of course, but nevertheless, we don't work in orders like that because it's, first of all, it's difficult, impossible, and even if I will do it, I will bring it to ВКонтакте and I will get legal money. I think this is cool. That's true. Okay, let's see. If you will take all the myths around your profession, the real bullshit, people that don't really understand what is real. Well, the brightest example that I can speak about in the same definition of hacker, that everybody who works in hacking are 100% related with the dark side, like a priori. Oh, you're a hacker, okay. And he looks at you differently. He sees you differently. This is very strange, but, well, this is just a profession. Well, this is also office work. So this is the most acute perception, but this is when we are speaking about the humanity as such, outside of this profession, outside of this small circle of security and IT guys.
Что меня передергивает? Да. Два слова. Первое — это регулятор, конечно же.
First of all, regulator.
Это все возможные лицензии, которые мы постоянно Центробанк.
Different licenses that we constantly supply Centrobank, stack. We know all of these. A lot of papers and no way without them.
А, мифы?
Мифы, от которых передергивает.
Are there any myths which are making you feel like that?
Который меня, наверное, передергивает, это то,
Well, speaking about the myth which makes me shake, it's that hacker is an omnipotent person. And when they say, well, I cannot do that, they say, well, you're a hacker. You're a hacker. How can it happen? People have a perception that breaking something is there's a special button, red button. Hacker presses this button and everything's been broken. You captured the city, you captured the planet, you broke everything, and everything happened at a single moment of time because there's one button. And hacker just has to do like that. So this is something, when you start explaining that this is a complicated process, that there is no 100% probability of success, that it depends on manufacturers, and they say, whoa, you're a bad hacker. You just don't know what you're doing. Especially clients have this idea. They say, why you do it 10 days or 15 days? Why it costs so much? You're a hacker because they have this myth that you can do it very fast, very quickly. Like you see all the wireless networks and you already calculate password in your head immediately. Well, for me, another myth was a myth that people constantly mix programming and hacking. Well, you're a programmer. Do you write the source code? Yeah, sometimes I do. Well, it means that you're a hacker. What are you telling me? But hackers also think sometimes that they are programmers and they try to make some software or product. When we see on the market products from the IT security which were written by hackers, like little startups, and they all are disappearing because hacker is not always a good programmer, and sometimes it's a bad programmer. It's like sports programming. People write code, it has to be scaled, developed, and they can follow the tasks, and hackers are not like that. Well, my profession, first I was a programmer, but 7 years I've been programmer, professionally, enterprise programmer. But then at a certain moment of time, I decided to become a hacker, and then I went into pen testing and on and on and on. So for me, it's equal. Well, as the developer of analyzer and source codes, I could tell you about even worse situation when programmer thinks that he's a hacker and writes such a code that, oh, And I will forecast, I will forecast what the hacker will do, and I will write a code, and then SQL injection filtration starts in the source code. You see, which myth we have met in our work have surprised you. You didn't even expect that you will hear something like that about your profession. Just in case, before Roskomnadzor, I'm speaking about myths. Myths. In my work, in my profession, you mean inside of working processes that somebody would believe some bullshit. Yeah, inside, outside, doesn't matter. We're fighting against it in our work. And this is a part of work that passion means that a client never understands your services as ethical hacker. They never completely understand it. They look at business, CLM, whatever, and you have to explain it. And sometimes it happens that they don't really understand your services, what you can do, what you're selling to them, and admit that pen tester or unethical hacker can find all the vulnerabilities and make it secure. So you, as a pen tester, you come, but why do you make company more secure? The company. Well, security is built by security people, and pen tester can be some kind of a mirror, because whether are certain measures in the company in the direction of the information security, whether efficient or not. So these things are usual, and in your head you should fight against it because it's a question of your success. You have to form expectations, etc. Something like that. So it's interesting from the point of view that you're working in a big company. And you, as a function, people expect something from you. Yeah, from me, yes. I work in a functional department, so we work security as a service. So we do have a lot of stories like that. For example, the most interesting one, and the one that we see the most often, that you guys, you do some improper shit, you don't let us make money. But when we tell them you have vulnerability, you have to close it, they say, no, we will make several releases and then we'll start working this vulnerability. They break a project, it brings some risks, reputational risks and other risks. So it all is being scaled, and the perception of the information security is changing in the company. This is cool. So this myth is being destroyed on a step-by-step basis because security guys, they bring profit into the company. That's myth number one. Myth number two is that security guys are not only programmers, but also testers, analysis people, and everything else. Because sometimes security people receive questions not how to make it secure, but how can we do something like that? Like product owner, architect, and security guys come, okay, can you tell me please, where should I play the clusters? Or where can I make a fail-safe system? Where can I speed up my database? I say, I don't know how to do that. That's another myth, is that a security guy has everything. Well, some people do have this expertise, especially people who came from some system administrators. Maybe they do have this expertise, but not all security guys have it. Well, these are funny things that we face. Well, from the same situation, I've seen myth when I've told people what I'm doing, and they immediately send me a question. So you cannot leave the country? I say, why? Well, you're a Russian hacker. Where can you go? That's it. I have a cross. And I was really surprised by it because at a certain moment of time, our guys been traveling to different conferences, and honestly speaking, a lot of people think that hackers are people who cannot leave the country. Yeah, it's a very thin profile. When you're being scrutinally checked, extended checkups. Have you been receiving visas? Yes, of course, I've been. Did you have situations when you didn't receive visa? No, never. Never. I've traveled all over Europe. Everything which is related with complications with visas or extending the visa receiving process on additional checkups, it's all related with the United States. And all the stories that I've heard were related to the United States. I have form number 2, and I will need a permission of an employer. That's it. And there's a myth that, all the IT security guys have the form. You have this form? No, I don't have this form, but I could say, you have it
Понятно.
from the previous
Хорошо, а вот
employment.
давайте от грустных к тем более веселым. А что
Okay, from sad to funny.
самого смешного,
In
какой-нибудь
you,
курьезный случай?
what was the funniest thing that was happening in your
Дело
work?
пентеста, то есть набор ребят,
As for the pen test department,
по сути, основная
the
деятельность
number
их
of people who doing
помогать,
hacking,
внешних заказчиков,
the
анализировать их
projects of
защищенность,
external clients, analyzing their security, compromising. And this is, by the
другого
way,
заказчика, курьез с
it comes from the infrastructure of
там, в духе
department of the client,
техники социальной инженерии,
something in the spirit of social engineering techniques, like pen testing, when you start telling them, like, well, you have interesting joints, something happens, and you're sitting and waiting.
поджидая их, когда они тебе оставят пароли свои, там, да, например.
So you wait until they put their passwords or things like that. Mix-ups in a roles on the side of the client when you think that this was some kind of an engineer, but it happens that it's a history of your friend who was some security director of the company, something like that. Things like that, and they happen constantly because we have big sample of situations when you can make a mistake, when you can make an error about people, about systems.
Я вспомнил
That's it.
кейс,
I remember the case that I would like to develop like that sometimes security proliferates vulnerabilities, but I need to come to conclusion. The story. Once upon a time, we removed statics by our scanners. We've been scanning, delete methods, we've scanned it, and deleted statics from our CDNs. It's not a problem. We've been hanging for an hour, we restored it, we came to the conclusions that we shouldn't do such scanning of statics, we excluded, but what's the main idea? It was funny, honestly speaking, when we've been looking for hackers, but we were those hackers who deleted the statics. The idea is that, yes, in this profession, there is a big area of risks that every process, every implemented tool should be tested by yourself because they also can be a source of threat. Any fuck up, or if even IPS have got disconnected, or maybe some other monitoring systems have got disconnected, any small fault, any small hole can lead to big problems to the company, and in general, it will cost you a lot. That's why security involves people who constantly keeping themselves calm. You work with this data, you work with these sensitive processes, especially in the pen testing, we constantly work with the systems, breaking it, we increase the privileges, we're trying to keep. And it's a big sample of situations when you can make error 100% and it can lead to denial of service or anything else. And sometimes I don't understand the client when they say something like, please be careful, don't break anything. I say, well, I have 10 years of experience of breaking things, Don't explain this to me. And sometimes client sees the situation that something is going to change there constantly, something can break, even though there's not many situations like that. Maybe something like that happens like once a year in a
А
department.
вот смотрите, даже вокруг не ИБ, а
Okay,
IT
let's see. Even around the IT industry, there's a myth that IT person, successful IT guy, is a guy with red eyes, laying down on folders of money. And the myth is that we are making huge money in special information security because this IT security, and therefore I'll destroy this myth. I'll destroy this myth by one phrase. Those who make money, they have a lot of money. We don't make money. We save money. Security system does not make money. It saves money. So the problem is that all other companies and functions or anybody else, they will look at the information security as a department expense as a cost center. So, you know, before the situation happens, you don't know how much money you saved them because you protected the company and they don't know how much they could lose. The situation didn't happen and you don't know how much really you have saved the company money, how much money you have saved. So everything's very simple. They look at us as a cost center. So there's always a skepticism on the side of the company owners and other functions which work with information security about
Стоит ли очень много денег в нее класть, ВБ? Потому что ты
should we invest a lot of money into information security? Because if you will invest 1 ruble, nothing happens. If you will insert 100 millions of rubles, nothing will happen. So we win in all three situations because this risk will never happen, but there is only a probability that it might happen. So only situation due to the skepsis that function is not making money. They don't give a lot of money to security guys. Yes, they do have a lot of opportunities. Ethical hackers, they have possibilities to develop and earn money additionally to their main job. But programmers win more because they create things which make money. Well, I wanted to make an example of SecDeva, where I work myself. SecDeva is a developer and then sec. That's why... yeah, it can be. It can be. I'm not confident that in application security one can make a lot of money because this is also, you know, a security part is a process related. They make money, but what quality it gives to the company? Maybe the company has quality as a brand, security as a brand, for example. iPhone is safe. Well, you understand why you can invest, why people can make a lot of money, because this is something that brings them money. The brand brings them money to the security. But it doesn't happen very often.
Скажи все это Positive Technologies.
Tell all of this to Positive Technologies. Well, it's a service company, new vendor. They earn money for themselves.
Давай на Wildberries посмотрим.
Look at Wildberries. Yeah, let's look at Wildberries. Out of 4%
Ну, в общем,
of net profit.
как зарабатывать, что
Well, speaking about security, as earning money and about money, it was a question about the money. It's very hard to speak about it. Yes, of course. Programmers, they should earn more, and they do earn more. If you will compare some senior level in security and in programming, then programmer will make more money. But the main idea is that security people, they can grow unlinearly. If the programmers, they grow linearly, the security guys can grow unlinearly. So in the future, the person who was a security guy can become a technical director, for example, very fast. Or, for example, some sys and take a top position in company. That's why this is totally different money. So basically, their development vector, well, they do have very interesting things about non-linearity. It's the character work that I'm always bringing to example. If I have some assistants, and as an example, let's see. As a security guy, I can do my work within 1 day or within 10 days. For example, I say that I'll fix this vulnerability in 15 days. Or maybe I can do it in 1 day, if I will be lucky enough and will discover it. Programmer cannot do it. He cannot speed up his work like a woman cannot increase the speed of her labor, you know, something like that. And it works. Okay, dear friends, thank you very much for coming to us and having such an interesting conversation. Thank you very much. We'll see you later. Thank you, and goodbye. Have a good standoff.